Our next special case is the Mazda 2.3 liter, commonly found in the Mazda 3 and Mazda 6 cars, as well as some Ford vehicles. In fact, Mazda has issued a technical service bulletin saying they will not warranty engine failure if the proper oil change procedures are not followed. So we know this is not going to be an ordinary oil change. Like a lot of cars, this Mazda has a splash shield underneath that must be removed to gain access to the oil filter. So let's take it off. With this engine, the oil filter is housed in this metal housing with this plastic cap retaining it in place. Start by draining the sump in the conventional manner. Pull the plug out. Okay, once we drain the sump, we need to remove the drain from the bottom of the oil filter housing. It uses a 6mm Allen wrench. Just loosen it about a half a turn at this point, and then position your drain pan in position. Next, we need to remove the cap using the special Mazda tool, one turn. Now we can remove the drain plug. The reason Mazda recommends this special tool instead of a strap wrench or other oil change tool is because this housing is made of two different pieces with a molded seam in between. The use of a non-conventional tool can put stress on that seam and cause this cap to split open and lose all the engine oil. Your customer definitely won't like that. You should always inspect this cap at the beginning of this oil change for any kind of machine marks, because if it has machine marks from a previous oil change from using the wrong tool, you should not proceed unless you have a replacement cap on hand. These are available at any Mazda dealer for about $14. Okay, once you got your oil filter housing changed, it's time to pull the cap all the way off. Just unscrew it. And the cap will come off along with the filter. Okay, you might think all we have to do now is put it back together the way it came apart, but there's two more things we need to do first. There's two O-rings on this setup that have to be replaced. The first one is on the plastic filter housing. A little hard to see, but you take a little pick, can pull it out of the groove, pull it off. We're going to take our new O-ring, and we're not going to use the pick to reinstall it because we don't want to take a chance of damaging it or nicking it. Just kind of roll it back down, making sure that it sits down in the groove. The other piece, the second O-ring, is on this drain plug. And pull them off with the pick. It's on there tight. And then we'll get our new O-ring. We're going to roll it down the threads. Okay, we're going to roll it all the way down until it's seated into the groove, and then put a light coat of engine oil on it. After we get our O-rings installed and we've inspected them to make sure they're free of nicks and cuts and they're not twisted in the groove, you can start the drain plug in the bottom of the cap and just leave it in there by hand. Next, we're going to install the filter cartridge onto the housing center tube, making sure that it's seated. Next, we're going to install the filter and the cover into the housing, first by hand, and then we're going to use our Mazda tool and a torque wrench and tighten it up to 22 to 26 foot-pounds or 30 to 35 Newton meters. Okay. Next, we're going to tighten the drain plug to 80 to 97 inch-pounds or 10 Newton meters. Okay, last we're going to install our drain plug. We're going to tighten it up to 19 foot-pounds or 26 newton meters with a torque wrench. Okay, next we're going to add our oil, 4.5 quarts with 5W30. Now that we've filled the car with the proper amount and grade of engine oil, we're going to start it up and wait for the oil pressure light to go out. You'll notice that we didn't put the engine cover on underneath. Before we do that, we're going to check our engine oil with the dipstick, and then we're going to put it back up in the air and check for leaks. After that, we can put the cover on the bottom and we'll be finished. We look real good on the stick.